I know this is an odd video for me to be making. Not only have Draw My Life videos fallen out of fashion, but usually only big-name creators make them as some kind of milestone, but I want to tell you my story, and this is how I want to tell it. Besides, I believe in myself. Once I'm big, I can just tell people to watch this video. I was born on August 30th, 2000. Born on the millennium, but not a millennial? Sure, that makes sense. My mom always had the nicest things to say about me when I was a child. Too bad she didn't speak for my dad. She said I was a smart kid. If you've ever met a parent, you know that really means troublemaker. I was born mechanically minded. That meant no amount of child locks could stop me from getting into things I wasn't meant to, taking things apart, or just leaving the house unattended. Walking out into the world became somewhat of a habit for me. My parents were raised religious. They didn't force that on me and my siblings for very long. Christian and Catholic don't mesh very well, turns out. I'm glad to an extent, forcing myself to wait through grace while delicious food was on the plate right in front of me was a unique form of torture. I moved homes a lot in my early years, about 6 times before I was even 12. I could never keep friends, I could never get used to neighborhoods, I could never have a room to myself. Oh, right. Meet my siblings. I'm not gonna dox them, so let's just call them siblings 1, 2, 3. No, I'm 3, 4, and 5. They're all incredibly important to me, but I spend the most time with my brothers. Some of my fondest memories are just us playing video games on the couch together. I can't remember a time when I didn't hate school. The strict routines, being forced to sit on hard, uncomfortable plastic chairs for hours, threat of detention if you don't behave like a robot, just staring at the ever-humming light bulbs in the ceiling, waiting for the day to end. It all led to me feeling an inescapable dread every weekday. I felt totally trapped. As I got older, I took a look back on those memories, and I get angry. Not because of the way I was treated, but because they didn't need to treat me like that. School isn't meant to feel like a punishment. And don't even get me started on Sunday school. I had never done very well in school, and that was really due to a lack of effort. I never had an interest in memorizing standardized coursework from a book that was older than I was, just to make me into a model factory worker. Back then, I would have called myself stupid, though. Love and praise from my teachers and caregivers was tied to my performance more than who I was. I've always been a quick learner, though. Looking back, I see they just didn't know how to keep me engaged. They never really tried to accommodate me. They just offered me ultimatums disguised as compromises. They never believed I'd be successful when they said so. I spent the majority of my free time at the local library, not for the books, of course, but for the computer lab. Without the restrictions on what sites I was allowed to visit, I spent a ton of time watching YouTube, especially Markiplier. Whenever I got asked what I wanted to be when I grow up, I'd say I wanted to be a YouTuber. I also played a ton of Flash games. Free was the key. Any games that were free to play or had a demo were the only ones on the menu. I didn't have an allowance, so that was my only option. Unfortunately, my struggles in school only got worse over time. I wasn't surrounded by peers. I have a learning disability, so naturally, instead of putting me into the care of teachers with the ability to care for kids with special needs, they put me into a behavioral school, surrounded by kids from broken homes who were looking for an easy target. As if that weren't bad enough, in 7th grade, when I was about 13 years old, I was about to qualify for the transfer to a normal school, when their quack psychologist said I'd kill myself if I were allowed to attend any other school. My parents pulled me out of school then and there. Grabbed my hands, stood up, and walked right out of that meeting, never looked back. I kept going to the library until I was 19. That's when they stopped letting me use the gaming computers. No, you didn't hear that wrong. I spent over 5 years of my life doing nothing of note or value. I lost touch with friends I made in my teens, probably for the best, to be honest. They weren't what I would describe as good people. After more than 5 years out of school, I was feeling trapped again. I wasn't trapped by an institution this time, but by a lack of purpose. Felt like I was stagnant. Instead of hard plastic and fluorescent bulbs. It was my own bed and my laptop screen. I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to get a job, one that paid more than minimum wage. I wanted to meet people. I wanted so much more than I had. I decided I needed to go to college. I had no clue where to start. I'm very lucky, though. A friend of mine found me a GED and certificate course. It was perfect. We went the next day and signed all the paperwork. After I registered, I felt energized. I'd finally broken the cycle of procrastination that was keeping me trapped. Meeting my instructor Itri and all my new classmates was so strange. The atmosphere was casual, relaxed even. Our first week was mostly just learning the layout of the school, discussing goals, and getting to know each other. We didn't even touch a textbook until the second week. Things really were different than they were before. That much was clear. I was finally a student instead of a prisoner of the school system, and that meant if I failed now, I could only blame myself. For the first time in my life, I was responsible for my own success. The pace I progressed, my own transportation, even just waking up on time. I was the only person holding myself accountable. It was difficult, mentally and academically. Some days I had to force myself to get out of bed. Another test today, I'd think, more reading, and I really was not in the mood. I've always seen myself as intelligent, even if my test scores didn't reflect it. I figured I could catch up on my work last minute and just guess where I wasn't sure. My midterms were a rude awakening, though. I scored less than 80% across the board. I didn't have the answers because I didn't do the work. I didn't read up to the point I was meant to, and I wasn't submitting my labs and homework on time. I felt like I was trying my hardest. I was interested in what my professor had to say. I wanted to know more, but just spending hours reading and rereading the same sentences without learning anything. I'd never pushed myself to meet a deadline before. Bare minimum shouldn't have felt like an excessive workload, but here I was. Maybe I was dumb after all. Maybe they were right about me. I need to thank my instructor Itri again for all the help he gave me. He convinced me that I had what it takes to be brilliant. I was just looking at education the wrong way. Learning how to learn seemed like a silly concept to me. But I had to. Banging my head against the wall wasn't working. I couldn't force comprehension. Ironically, it was slowing down that helped me complete my assignments faster. Taking in the meaning of words, setting aside time for breaks, stretching, gave myself time to process the material. I was able to stop dreading the reading and to stop hating the work. Felt like I was learning for the first time instead of just memorizing. Felt like cheating when I had the answers to questions I hadn't been asked before. Finals went a lot better than the midterms. I had a grasp on what was expected of me now, and what I could expect from the test. These weren't just multiple choice, they were simulations, labs. I stopped brute forcing questions. If I didn't have the answer, I just left it for later. 30 minutes was more time than it sounded like. Halfway through the questions, I only used 8 of the 30 minutes. I was feeling confident. I was doing this. I still had 10 minutes left. I was on to the last one. Question 12, and I only had 2 minutes left. I didn't panic though. I knew this. I took a deep breath, and I punched in the answer. After I hit submit, I felt lightheaded. There was nothing left to do but wait for the outcome. I couldn't handle failing here. After all my hard work, when the results appeared, I felt everything around me fade away. I clicked to read my score, and there it was. 100%. I felt so much pride in myself. Not just for succeeding, but for improving, for proving them wrong, for proving myself wrong. School tried to teach me how to work. College was teaching me how to learn. I was feeling a sense of pride in myself I'd never felt before. I had a purpose. It took a lot of effort to separate my sense of self-worth from the letter grade on my class, but once I did, I was able to focus more on comprehension and what I still had left to improve on. But it wasn't all sunshine and A grades. As we all know, they hate to see a white boy winning. In 2020, all classes went online due to the pandemic. The structure I was relying on fell out from under me, as well as a $10,000 scholarship. Back to square one. Felt like a cruel joke. Around that time is when I decided to try and get a girlfriend. Not because I really wanted one, but because that's what people do at this age. But think people could tell that I didn't really want them. That's for the best. Shallow doesn't suit me. And instead of letting myself get trapped in the same cycle, I decided to start picking up minimum wage jobs just to fill the void. Without a scholarship or financial aid, I couldn't afford to take the classes. From 2020 to 2025, I was trying to get my FAFSA to clear, but it's one problem after another. Input your parents' tax info. I didn't have it. Choose a valid program of study. I think an associate's is pretty valid, no? Your financial aid is suspended due to SAP standing. What? I didn't even attended class in 5 years. How am I over the limit? As it turns out, they didn't reevaluate my progress when I changed my program of study. Figures. All that hold up, and it was a clerical error that wasn't even my fault. Anyway, none of that stopped me from working on myself. I hit the gym, researched things I cared about, made my own financial plans, and I'm finally back in classes and working harder than ever. And heck, when you know it, working on myself led me to meeting my girlfriend. Beautiful, smart, funny, most amazing woman I've ever met. Usually these videos conclude with here, the present, where we are now. But I think I'd like to conclude my video by saying where I'm going. I'm gonna finish my degree. I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna retire before the age of 50. I believe in myself now, and hopefully, after hearing my story, you believe in me too.